Blacks in technology.
Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology. Blacks in technology.
Welcome, everybody, to the Blacks in Technology Big Tech Talk podcast. This is episode number 59 with our guest tonight, Bryan Smith. My name is Greg Greenlee. I'm your host for tonight. Hopefully, Iori will jump on here. If not, then we'll just continue as normal. You can check us out at www.blacksintechnology.net. That is our community website as well as our blog. You can check us out on Twitter. It's at Black in Technology. It's BLKINTECHNOLOGY. We also are on Facebook under facebook.com/Blacks in Technology. There's a LinkedIn group as well under Blacks in Technology, of course. And if you are listening in to this podcast tonight and you want to tweet us some questions, tweet us using the hashtag Big Tech Talk, and we'll try to get your questions answered on air. Who is Blacks in Technology? Who is BIT? Blacks in Technology is a tech-focused community and media organization focused on increasing diversity and technology. We do that in a number of ways. Our blog, we feature Black technology professionals on our blog. So all of our articles are written by Black technology professionals. We do it here on podcasts by featuring Black technology professionals and organizations all across the country. And we also do it through other means, such as our social networking site, blacksintechnology.net. So you can go there. You can join Blacks in Technology for free. We have close to 1,400 members nationwide, and we are steadily growing every day. So a couple of things I want to mention before we start our Q&A with our guest. FossetCon. FossetCon is going to be going on in September 11th through 13th. We're going to talk more about that later. We actually have the organizer of FossetCon on here tonight. FossetCon 2014, held September 11th through the 13th in Orlando, Florida. So check out FossetCon.org for more information on that. Also, PuppetConf. PuppetConf is going to be going on in San Francisco, California, September 20th through the 24th. It's a 5-day event. The first 3 days of the conference is training. The last 2 days are keynotes, talks, demos, certification tests. And Blacks in Technology has teamed up with Puppet Labs to actually give away free tickets to PuppetConf. So for the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to be announcing the winner of our first week tomorrow. But for the next couple of weeks after that, we are going to be giving away 2 more free tickets. So how do you do that? Well, you have to tweet Blacks in Tech. I'm sorry. What do you tweet? No, I don't even know what we tweet here. It's terrible. But two ways you can enter in. You can either become part of the newsletter or subscribe to the newsletter, become a member on the site, and there is a hashtag that you need to tweet, and I'm going to give you that hashtag here in 1 second. That hashtag is bit_PuppetConf 2014. So that's BIT_PuppetConf 2014. And you can check us out on the Blacks in Technology site for more details on that. So for the next couple weeks, going to be giving away free tickets. So if you want to get the win, then, check us out there. What else is going on? I think that's about it. I think we want to go ahead and we want to bring on our guest, Bryan Smith. Bryan Smith is a Debian, GNU Linux, and BSD enthusiast. He's a hardware hacker and systems engineer. He's been using open source operating systems since the days of Red Hat 5, Hurricane. So that's quite a long time ago. He contributes to several open source projects and has helped launch several startup ISPs based in his area using free and open source software as a framework. He is currently the program director for FossetCon. He spends his free time organizing for FossetCon and administering his free shell server, advocating free and open source software, proctoring BSD associate certification, writing poetry, playing the bossa nova, is that what that, and flamenco guitar. So we want to welcome our guest tonight, Bryan Smith. Bryan, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, how you doing, Greg?
Doing pretty well. So let's jump right into some questions, Bryan. We want to we're going to talk about diversity at tech conferences tonight. It's been a real diversity in technology, for one, has been a real high, especially recently with all these tech top tech companies releasing their diversity reports, such as Google and Twitter, Facebook. I think somebody else recently just released Apple released theirs. So it's always been a hot button topic. There's always been some controversy around technology conferences and their choice of speakers, and so we want to get into that whole topic, diversity at tech conferences, but more specifically, what you are doing to help try to increase diversity at the conference that you organized and found, FossetCon. So before we get into that, that's the theme of this podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about you first and get your background. So give us your background in technology.
Well, I started with technology, playing games. I started, back when there was a 5 1/4 floppy and you needed a OS disk. This was all DOS stuff. So one disk, the OS, and the other had the program on it, and you put it in and you flip down the little deal on the drive, and it sounded like a jet taking off. And I started playing games, but I didn't have a computer in my house at first. The computers were at school, and so I wanted a computer so bad, and I wanted to have a computer in the house so bad that I started telling people, yeah, I know how to fix computers. At a young age. I was always like getting into things, taking TVs apart, microwaves, all of those things. So, you just can't tell me that it cooks a hot dog in 30 seconds without me seeing what's going on. Like what is actually cooking this hot dog? I had to see. So the same thing with computers. So people would say, oh, I got a computer, it's not working. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can fix it. I definitely can fix it. But the thing was I didn't even own a computer. I had never seen the inside of a computer before, but I needed to see it. So people would give me their computers, and I would make the problem worse than it was when they gave it to me. Yeah, but then somehow I would fix it. Somehow, I kept beating at it, and I fixed it. And so, that started everything for me. And my father said I would take apart everything that wasn't nailed down in the house. So he finally got a computer for the house. And I started, as most people do, on the Windows side. But then when I got, wind of free and open source software, Linux BSD types of things, it just changed. It changed everything for me. So that's primarily what I run. Well, that's what I run now. I don't ever boot into Windows. I always boot into either Debian GNU Linux, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, and, that's the way that it has to be for me.
Nice. And you know what? I've found that a lot of, real tech enthusiasts are always, they always side a little bit more with Linux than they do Windows. I know I've been running Linux for quite some years now, and I started with a Debian install as well. And although my main computer is, I have to admit, is a Windows, and I might have to talk to you because I've seen videos on getting more than two. The only reason, just to give you a little bit of background, the only reason why I run with a Windows desktop is because I have 4 monitors that I use, and so my previous attempts at running Linux and having it use all 4 monitors for my desktop has been unsuccessful. And I've seen some videos out there, and haven't been quite able to get that to work with the 4. It's always been a thing to where it kind of splits up. What I like the X Windows, it's split up, so you'll have X Windows running on 2 monitors, and then for the other video card, you have another instance of X Windows running for that, but it's not all one entire screen. So I don't know if you have any background in.
Oh yeah, well first I'm going to tell you that's not a good excuse because X can handle a bunch of displays, right? So,
Gotcha.
Oh yeah, you need to talk to me and we'll get you going, and you can't use that.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. Well, and two, I mean, you just need to appreciate. You don't need to. You have a choice. You can choose to appreciate free and open source software, especially free software, because there's an ethos behind free software. And we can get you running with quad monitors, easy, really work. Yeah. So talk to me after the show about that.
Definitely. So, what was your first distro? What was the first distro that you installed?
So, what I did was, I got. So there was a place called Linux Central, and Linux Central you can buy the distro. Like back then, internet wasn't so fast. Okay, so most distros had boot floppies, and I had some floppies, but I remember buying some CD-ROMs and some floppies from Linux Central, and I got Red Hat was like 6 discs, Mandrake was like 6, I had Gentoo, I had everything. I had a bunch of distros, and there was even like a word for Linux. It was like which was like the precursor to Star Office. It was some word for Linux. And so I ended up settling with a Red Hat at the time because Red Hat back in that time was like Ubuntu as far as the community was concerned. Red Hat was a desktop distro that and you could run on servers too, but a lot of people ran it on the desktop. And so I started with Red Hat, and I remember the first time I installed it. Back in that time, you had to know like the IRQ numbers and stuff. I mean, you had to like really put it in there. And so I got it running, and I couldn't get X. I could use the mouse. I couldn't do anything, and I was like used to running Windows. And I looked at the terminal, and I got mad, and I turned it off. I was like, are you kidding me? I remember Googling, it wasn't Google. It's probably something like Alta Vista. I can't remember. Maybe it's Alta Vista. There were a bunch of other search engines. But I remember searching online and finding out that I had to do all of this command line stuff, and I was like, well, that's why I left using DOS, because I wanted something else. And but eventually I got back in it, and I started to accept the challenge that it was. And and that was it. Once I saw the challenge and I figured that I didn't want the computer to beat me, then I didn't turn back.
That's and I think that was one of the main things. And I you know what? I actually, once Linux started evolving, started becoming a lot easier to install. It's good for the overall success of Linux, but for me and a person who had to, install Linux through, Pixie Boot and, through all the things that we had to go through back in the day with compiling kernels, it wasn't nearly as straightforward. It wasn't just an update and get the newest, the latest kernel. Yeah, so I understand what you're talking about, because it and I don't want to say this in this type of manner, but kind of dumbed down a little bit. It became a lot easier for end users to use Linux and install, and that kind of a little bit took away from, what the hardcore enthusiasts and Linux geeks loved about Linux was that challenge of getting Linux up and running, and that challenge of being more, quote unquote, elite than everybody else, because, we're running Linux and, we're the best of the best. And, we have to do this to get our operating system running. And now it's kind of like, click, 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 click. And now it's installed. Just reboot, so I definitely feel you 100% on that.
Oh, yeah. So that was like 50% of the battle. To say that you successfully installed it was a big deal. And so I'm a BSD guy, too. I'm a big BSD guy. And so the first kernel I built was a BSD kernel. And BSD was even more peculiar than Linux was. The documentation was always better, but it was rough. And, it was a badge just to say I got it installed, because when you say that, like when you said it to other people, they look at you like, wow, really? Because they knew what it took for them to get it installed. Also, it wasn't just, a couple clicks and it's installed. No, you had to toil. It always failed the first time,
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? That's all part of why the Linux community is such a close-knit community, or was at one time, is that, everybody kind of knew the struggles that went along with running Linux, and even getting to that point to where you were running it and running it successfully was kind of like that badge of honor. And everybody, if you came in and you were running Linux, people respected you a little bit more, because they went through the same thing that you went through. And it's kind of like, the armed forces, you're in the Marines and you go through boot camp together. So that person has been through the same struggles that you have. So I like that about the community. That's kind of why I started Blacks in Technology. It was from actually attending Linux Fest. I attended the Ohio Linux Fest, and, Southeast Linux Fest is, where I met you at. And so that whole sense of community and camaraderie, and, that type of thing that brings people together, is really what spurred me to start Blacks in Technology. So let's get into a little bit about, I know when I met you at Southeast Linux Fest, I know you were running around there. You had some type of hardware that you were working on, and you're into hardware hacking. Tell us about the projects. Well, first tell us what hardware hacking is, how you got involved, and then tell us some of the projects that you're working on, because it seems like there's this reemergence of hardware hacking, especially with, Raspberry Pis coming out, Arduinos coming out. So give us a little bit of background about that.
So, there are many facets of it, from like Arduinos in regards to microcontrollers, and then you have another that's really emerging strong now is the embedded, and these devices, whether you want to call it embedded Linux or whatnot, it's just an embedded device that is running generally an ARM processor, could be an Atom processor, and so with these devices, they'll be running an operating system, generally Linux, or you can run BSD on top of it, and it allows the user to be able to do things like control lights, run motors, and so they end up integrated into a lot of DIY projects. So someone may want to, for Christmas, they may want to, so I've seen where people have music playing, and they'll be using a Raspberry Pi, and the sound will sync the lights, or they're using Arduino to do something like that, to open a garage door. And so there are many different levels, and two, there's just a strictly enthusiast level, people who just like the fact of the hardware and, what they call SBC, or a single board computer, where it has everything on it, all of the peripherals, everything, and it'll generally be the size of, perhaps, it'll be smaller than a Coke can, or the size of, I've got some smaller than business cards. They've got some called the gumstick. The gumstick, which is small, is the size of a gumstick, and so people can run a full operating system on it, and then integrate that into their projects. And so for me, it was a thing of first what drew me to it was the fact that you had this device with a very small form factor, and everything's there, a SoC, system on a chip. That's a big deal. And so I get to looking at the sheets and seeing all what types of buses and what types of devices that are available in that. And I just marvel at the engineering that was put in it, and the fact that it has such a small form factor and a low power footprint. These are devices that you could run for a year and literally pay $3 as far as electrical consumption goes. At peak, they'll run 4 to 6 watts. And so, that got me really interested in, and then too, being that, I was always, I'm a ham radio operator as well. And so,
okay.
I've got this, a lot of people in technology have this, I call it an engineer's disposition. You may not be an electrical engineer, but you have the disposition to where you feel the need to engineer things and to integrate things, and you appreciate modularity and taking components and putting these things together. And so being that the free and open source software community leads the initiative in regards to Arduino and embedded goals, it was hand in hand for me in regards to, working with like Python, Perl or something, or even C, and doing command line and playing around with the kernel a bit in regards to accessing general purpose input and output. So you can say if someone pressed the switch, you can make the OS read that the switch was pressed. And, there are a lot of things that you can toggle LEDs. And so that whole reemergence, and then leading into like the Arduinos and the Raspberry Pi, as far as there are people who aren't technical that own Arduinos and Raspberry Pis, because there's such a large community out that you pretty much grab some code and basically just run it and get something done. And so I've seen people who are into like decorative IT or like, wearable IT that might not be too much into the IT part. They're more like decorators and artists. And so they pick up the hardware and they can realize their aspirations and their dreams by, doing this with free and open source software, things that are available online and shared.
Nice. And that's the very, very cool thing about, not only about free and open source software, but about technology in general, and that it's now expanding into these other realms and these other different career places, right? So you were mentioning, artists are now using, Arduinos or Raspberry Pis, grabbing code and now implementing or merging them with their art and coming up with new and entirely different ways of creating artistic pieces, right? And that's exciting, because if you think about it, that's kind of where we're going with society, is everything is going to be incorporating some type of technology into its platform, whether it's, they do it with sports, with training and sports and things like that, and, art and pretty much everything. So it's pretty cool that it's caught on like that. The whole rage of Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, and these small form factor computers have really caught on and spread. So what are some of the projects that you worked on?
Well, projects that, as I said, I had a shell server. So a shell basically is where, back in the day, shells were huge. As a matter of fact, most ISPs, when you bought dial-up, you got a shell account, which was command line access to your internet service providers, not their infrastructure, but to a server there. And so you could get on and you can, run programs. You could do various things. You checked your mail. You got mail that way. And so there is a big community out there, and this is the way that a lot of people learn now, because, with the advent of virtual machines, it's changed a little bit, but a lot of people tend to want to dabble, and it's romantic, because there's a system out there that this group is organizing and they're running, and you log on and there's this community, but most importantly, it's a learning tool, and it's a learning environment. So you learn to use the system in a multi-user setting, which it was initially designed for. And so, because back in the day, there were no mice, there was no, you had a dumb terminal or just a cathode ray tube that had green letters on it, right? And so in those days, they made these systems because you had contention between people wanting to get on them. And they make these systems that say, okay, well, you know, we need to make this system where multiple people can use it and it can schedule processes. And, you know, so that whole situation is more, I'll say it's nostalgic. And so running the shell service, which did a lot based around IRC. And so we'd allow people, because we had a really nice server, we still have it actually, to where people can build their software. So if their system wasn't beefy enough, you know, the server with, 32 cores or whatever, well, you can get time to build your software on it. And, you know, we hosted several projects. And actually, one project, got a SourceForge award. But beyond that, but beyond that, I also worked with a group in Germany. It was a router project called FLI4L, and which was the one disk router. It's still around, FLI4L. And I actually translated the docs, but I didn't really know German, but I knew Debian. So it was a thing of where, I've used Google Translate, and I'll translate the docs, and I just knew what it should say because I knew the whole process. I also was on a team of another Linux distro, a GNU Linux distro, eLive, which was the Enlightenment Live distro, and there's a bunch of other things that, other projects that I contribute to and that I'm just involved in that, too numerous to name. Because the cool thing about what we do in our community and what people really do with free software is that, being a user, you're a part of the project. If you file a bug report, that's a major thing. For us, it's a real major thing. Or if you contribute documentation, that's a major thing. And so one more thing, on the BSD side, I'm a BSD associate test proctor. And so with that, BSD, FreeBSD, well, it's not just FreeBSD, it's all of BSD. As a BSD, if you were to try and get the BSD associate exam, or certification, it's only $75, and it is a top tier certification. This isn't something that you can just use rote memory and learn. You've got to really know stuff from OpenBSD, FreeBSD, Dragonfly BSD. Like, you really got to know your stuff. And so I proctor exams for that, and I'm also a CA Cert Assure. So, I'm into a whole bunch of things, and so, but that's just what we do in our community.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely sounds like you're into a lot of things there, and you know what? I think it's important that that people get involved in that type of thing, especially in the free and open source software community, because not only does it builds skill sets, but it also, it challenges you, right? And it tests you, and it makes you, that much better at what you do. So, much props to you for engaging in those projects. And so let's talk a little. Oh, I want to go to a question from Twitter. We had a person on Twitter ask us. We were talking about hardware hacking. So the question to you is, have you done any kernel-level control of software-defined radios, such as with 802.11ac and a DSRC?
Well, so as far as the kernel level, the most that I've done in the sense of SDR, and I really wouldn't call it SDR, is AX25, which is a protocol that's used for packet radio. In the kernel. But as far as the SDR side, kernel-wise, no, but I do a lot with SDR, being that I'm a ham. And in regards to the RTL SDR project by Osmocom, they allow you to be able to use Realtek chipset DVB-T dongles, which are used to tune in tune in broadcasts over the air in Europe to be able to tune those as a software-defined radio and get a wide range of spectrum. I actually did a talk at FossetCon about that, but as far as on the 802.11x side, no. And SDR, no.
Gotcha.
I think I knew that.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you. Yeah, it was Henry. I'm pretty sure you probably. Thanks, Henry. For if you're out there listening, thanks for the question. And if you're listening right now, we are talking with Bryan Smith. Bryan is the organizer and the founder of FossetCon. It's a free and open source software conference that's going to be going on in Orlando, Florida. It's September 11th through the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So and so let's get into that. Let's talk about FossetCon. This podcast is about diversity and technology. So I think it's only fair that we get into some questions about it and talk about that aspect of it. So first off, and because I know I've talked to you in the RRC room, and yes, Blacks in Technology does have an RRC channel. It's Bit Tech Chat. So check us out on freenode.org if you want to become a part of our RRC room. But let's talk about, because I've talked to you in the chat rooms. I know that you're an avid speaker and you speak at different conferences all around. You recently spoke at OSCON up in Portland. And then, that's when I, kind of found out you were working on FossetCon. So what is FossetCon and what made you want to organize a conference around open source software?
Okay, so FossetCon is is an acronym for the Free and Open Source Software Expo and Technology Conference. FossetCon is not a Linux conference. It's not a BSD conference. It is a free and open source conference. So with FossetCon, the reason why I dreamed it up is because I was attending a lot of conferences, and with that, being a Floridian, I was traveling to Cambridge, I was traveling to Portland, I was traveling to San Jose, I was traveling to Ohio, I was traveling to South Carolina. I was going all over the place, and most of the events were abroad, or not abroad. Most of the events were in other states, and they weren't in Florida. Well, I was actually technical director of the Florida Linux show, and we had that, and it ended in 2009. And so, we wanted an event, and I don't want to say I got tired of traveling, because I like to travel and I like all of these other events, but we needed our own event in Florida. So, it was basically a call to arms. That's just what we do. You just can't keep complaining if you're not doing something, So I decided, I was also a board member of the Southeast Linux Fest when I met you, actually. And so,
yeah, and real quick, wasn't there? I thought there was going to actually be some type of, because when I met you, I thought there was some talk of combining Southeast Linux Fest, because Southeast Linux Fest is in South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Or is it, okay, so, and I thought that there was some talk about combining a conference that you were going to do in Florida with Southeast Linux Fest. Was that not? Am I not correct in that, or?
No, I don't think.
Okay. So you started your.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So I stepped down from my position there as a board member, and I said, okay, so this year, this was last year. I said, okay, I'm going to do FossetCon. So I actually tried to do it I started, looking at doing it in 2010. So the domain name was registered. I was talking to venues, but the venue that I was planning on having it, there were some issues, so it didn't happen. And I said, well, it's not going to happen this year. I should just, sort of like get back in the community and contribute. So for 2 years, I was a board member of Southeast Linux Fest, helping out with that. And so, FossetCon is a bit different in regards to other events, I'd say, because we have a diversity initiative, and for us, it's a serious thing. Like that is in going to a lot of conferences, in generally being one of the only Black speakers or one of the only speakers of an underrepresented group, or seeing that there weren't many speakers of underrepresented groups, which, by the way, includes women, and because I believe that, women are most likely, pretty sure that women are like the largest subset of underrepresented groups, or within underrepresented groups, if you understand what I mean. So there are, Latino women, Black women, women, period, just women. And so, glass ceiling is there, and it's alive, and there are meritocracies. And so for us, it's a thing of where we know that we can change not just the face of conferences, but the face of IT by, trying to cultivate diversity, because when people go to these events and they see people doing things that, are in their same disposition, then they say, well, you know what, if a single mom sees another single mom, doing a talk on technology, maybe she'll aspire to, learn Python or whatnot. If whenever other people see people doing things that they may have at first thought that they couldn't do, or their peers may have discouraged them to do, then they step out and then they feel, okay, this event does it does encourage me, and they do create an environment for me to feel welcomed in order to contribute to this great thing.
And I think that's very important. Something that you touched on is creating that environment, and where women or minorities or underrepresented, underserved communities feel welcome. Right? There's a lot of talk around that, and there's actually a couple of we've worked with a couple of tech conference organizers to try to help on that initiative, but it hasn't been enough, to be honest. There needs to be a lot more on the conference organizer side to help with that initiative. And I know Strange Loop, Alex Miller, and I didn't mention that earlier in the podcast, but Strange Loop is going to be going on in September as well, and I think that's maybe mid-September. But Alex Miller, who we had on the podcast, I think it was number 55, really talked a lot about trying to help create a more diverse atmosphere, and that he actually had an initiative where he put up a lot of his money to give out scholarships for people who wanted to travel, and also, for admission and to the conference. And his whole thing was just kind of, reaching out. He wanted the conference to be more inclusive, and he wanted it, for people to feel comfortable while they're at the conference. And I just received a newsletter from Strange Loop today about there's actually, for people who I guess who received the scholarships, there's in order to make them feel a little bit more acclimated to the environment and what Strange Loop has to offer, is they're creating these tours, and these tours are meant to kind of introduce them to the conference, introduce them to the people within the conference and speakers like that. And I thought that was kind of a nice touch that he added to try to get more people acclimated to the Strange Loop environment. So I know you've already mentioned that diversity at these tech conferences are important to you, but why is it important to you? Why do you think that diversity should be pretty much like a number one priority?
Well, so the situation is this, as I see it, and a lot of people tend to see it this way. So diversity, a lot of people just see gender diversity, right? And and gender diversity is just one facet of it. It's really one facet. But the reality is that the women have completely led the initiative, really. So any group that feels that they're underrepresented and they need to, hone their focus and they need to find some way or a model, look at a lot of geek feminism, okay? Because they are the ones who are actually kicking down doors and are getting in places. Now, Trendy, the numbers still aren't where they need to be, but they have better numbers than everybody else. Okay, so now the diversity situation, as I said, it leads to, in our community, in the free and open source community, because we are doers, and all of these tools are available to you. They're available. So when it's free software, it's Libre. It extends freedom to the user, and so when the user gets freedoms extended to it, then they're empowered. So with that empowerment, right, having all these tools that you can create things with. Also with that, most importantly, you need tutelage. You need individuals who can, in a sense, mentor you, but inspire you to do things with it, inspire you and be catalysts for innovation. And so whenever you have a diverse conference, then you change people's socioeconomical status. Okay, it's much. And so, that's not good. That's not good at all. All of these companies are made up of people from communities. And so being a community event and having people from the community contribute and participate in the event, then when you have an event that is more diverse, these people leave the event, go to their community, get in their cars, and then drive to work. These companies just don't. They just aren't run by bots or something. I mean, they're actual people that take ethics and values from communities. And so when you have diversity initiatives on all fronts, then you will end up with a unified collaborative focus and goals that will cumulatively create a better situation for a lot of people. Did I kill you? Hello? Was it too much?
Hey, Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of lost connection there. Apologize about that. So I think you're kind of going on for a second and nothing was coming out.
Really? So I just gave you the secret to free energy. So you didn't hear that? You didn't?
Of it.
Oh, man.
I know. The secret is lost forever.
Man.
So that's our show for tonight, everybody.
Wow, really? So what was the last thing you heard me say?
You were saying about we were talking about diversity at tech conferences. You were mentioning women as the largest underrepresented group, but they were breaking down barriers. And then we started talking. You started getting into when it comes to people of color, and then you're saying something about free and open source software is liberating, and that's where we kind of.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well. So basically, I was saying that diversity is important at conferences because when you have a bunch of fronts where people are championing diversity, then you end up with a situation to where you diversify communities, because these companies are formed and built from people from communities. They're just not, standalone entities. These companies are made up of people who get their beliefs and a lot of it, beliefs and ethics from their community. And so whenever you diversify events and you have diversification on many fronts, those individuals that go to these community events go back and they expect more. They expect more from their communities, and they expect more from the workplace. And it just it won't magically happen, but it'll create a thing where people will be empowered, and it'll change the face of everything.
Got you. So let's talk about, tech conference organizers. We've had this conversation in the RSC chat room before. We kind of actually went back and forth when it comes to the organizers and their responsibility to create a more diverse atmosphere, and what are they not doing? How are they dropping the ball when it comes to diversity, and how are you approaching the that situation a bit differently?
Well, so first, I want to say I'm not just the organizer. I'm one of the organizers of FossetCon.
Okay.
I definitely can't take all the credit. But now, and I can't say that, XYZ event is doing things wrong. I can't say that, because there's a lot of components and there are a lot of things that go into organizing events. Now, I have seen. Now, what I have seen is that, say if you just expect by happenstance that certain groups that have been shunned or from certain sectors and don't feel welcomed, and they don't feel welcome, most importantly, are just going to show up and start submitting books, and then you say, okay, well, we didn't get any talks from them, so be it, and you didn't actually do outreach in those communities, then that in itself can be a problem. As I say, I just can't say specifically that this group or that group didn't do something right, but I know what we do. We do a lot of outreach, and the reality is that with it is as such, a lot, you will fail a lot. You will actually reach out to groups, and everybody will have good intentions, but sometimes things just don't connect. And but there are certain things that are easy to fix, right? So if you have keynote speakers, it's really easy. So like we got 4. So if you got 6, if you got 12 keynotes, it's really easy to get some gender diversity in there. That's really simple. So to just say, okay, of the keynote submissions, we'd like to have of our approved keynotes, we'd like to have 50-50. That's good. But now it's not to say that you just let anybody get up on the stage and do a keynote. If that were the case, my auntie would be doing a keynote at FossetCon. I mean, I'm just saying, it's not like, so it's not to say, it's not for you to just break all the rules and just force people out there. No, there are, and 2, you've got to realize it is very simple. It doesn't even, you don't have to be a forward thinker to know that there are a lot of women with really good talks that are worthy of keynotes. I mean, that's simple. That's but it's just a thing of, and 2, keynotes generally keynote talks, you go out and you go after individuals for keynotes. Okay, like you program that. So that is something that if you are intentionally, so if I say, Greg Greenlee, I want you to do a keynote, right? That is something that the organizers tend to seek out these individuals. And so if you're only seeking out individuals that look like you, that's not a good thing. It's generally not, it's not going to lead to you having diverse keynotes alone. Now, when you get to the speaker pool at large, so we have approximately 60 speakers total. And so that's a situation where it's harder to do diversity across the board as much as you want it to be. So with us, we have a good deal of female speakers, of women speakers, but it's not enough. I'll tell you right now, it's not enough. As far as ethnic diversity, it's really not enough. And it's not a thing of where we didn't try. It's a situation where starting off where we're starting, right, and in our focus being diversity, right, you know, and getting more people into the pool to choose from. That's the main thing is having the quality and quality and quantity, because having both allows you to have a speaker panel that looks more like a bag of jelly beans, you know, and that's how the conference should look also, like a bag of jelly beans, you know. So it's so on the ethnic diversity side of things, that takes a lot of work, and if you're not completely dedicated and committed to that, not only will you be discouraged, but you will take the failures that you have as complete failures and total utter failure, versus it being, okay, this is a step, and you know, we've got to do better. So right now, you know, the conference is, you know, not 3 weeks away, and there's another component to it in regards to attendee base. So if you don't have a diverse enough attendee base, then, as I said, it'll create a situation to where the people who may need to get into these talks and to get into these sessions, because it's so different with free software, because everything is there for you, the whole shebang, the whole stack. And so when these people can get in and get this knowledge and say, wow, I can just go home and download this software and contribute and use this, you know, it's a thing of where that can change a person's life, dramatically change their life. And so if your attendee base isn't diverse enough, and it's from people that aren't in a lower socioeconomical group, then you know, then it'll just be basically like colleagues talking to colleagues, or like water cooler talk, versus people getting into the industry and getting the tools that they need. So on that note as well, we have our tickets it's a low barrier of entry event, $20 for 3 days, and you get food. And for the 2 conference days, it's $10. So, you know, and so it's a thing of where we're giving people training that these companies generally charge a lot of money for, but they are aligning with us in regards to wanting to provide this to the community as a whole, at large. So, you know, that's something that you really can look at in regards to, you know, how much does it cost to get in the event? Because people who need to get in the event, I mean, like, really need to get in the event to you know, change their position, you know, climb that ladder for upward mobility sake, they may not be able to afford it, right? They just might not be able to afford it. So, you know, that's why we make tickets so affordable.
Yeah, and I've heard that, you know, from quite a few people. You know, there's ads for the TechCrunch event that's coming up, and it's kind of funny because they have like their ad is they're giving this discount, and it's like, oh, $1,000 off TechCrunch tickets, and people are looking at it like, is that supposed to like $1,000? How much are the tickets normally then? If you're giving $1,000 off of it, I mean, but it's stuff like that you know, creates this barrier to where people are just like, well, I don't know if that's really going to be worth my time to spend. Not only is that part of it. I mean, that's you know, conference ticket prices are a small part of the actual cost of going to a conference if you're from out of town, right? You've got travel, you've got hotel accommodations, you have to eat while you're there. I mean, all that is part of the barrier to getting to and attending these conferences. So, I mean, I think it's a great thing what you all are doing with, having these tickets, $20 and lowering that barrier of entry. We got a couple of Twitter questions I wanted to ask you. Do you have any suggestions for where tech conference organizers can do outreach to people of color? Do you have any suggestions or any tips on how these tech organizers can actually get people of color, reach out to people of color, minorities, and underrepresented groups?
Okay, so get in the meetups. So there are a lot of different meetups, and you will find yourself going to meetups you should find yourself going to meetups that aren't exactly related to technology, because there are always people who are into technology that may be there. And so it's easy for us with free software because we believe and we know that most people benefit from running free software. So
yeah.
It's mutually beneficial, and so it's easy to say, hey, well, here's free software. It's freedom. But now, if your group's focus is, admirable enough, then you can go to, I don't know, it could be a wicker basket event, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can share that information with those people, and they will be able to spread that word. But if they are from other groups, just like you've got the BDPA that are in a lot of cities, and if you join the meetup and you attend, try to attend or try to see if they will align with you and have a meetup at your event. Have a meetup at the event, so that way you literally have the people, a gathering of the people that you want coming to the event, and so you will have to, provide, something for them in regards to some space. How big the meetup might be, it could be a table or something. But really, groups that don't show up much, you have to reach out and find people. So period. And try to look for some names or look for some individuals and reach out to them and then see. And so it's sort of funny because, how we look at people and look for people who you think who look like they'll respond, some are smiling, you just figure, hey, the person with the smile, they're going to respond to me. And so you start contacting people, and they may be a part of certain communities. They may not be that engrossed in the community, but eventually you'll reach some people who will be able to connect you with other people, who will connect you with other people. And, and that is, and two, joining sites like Blacks in Technology, there are a plethora of groups that have sites where they gather information and people get together, and then you can communicate with the people, and they'll help you spread your message and effectively bring individuals to the event that you want there.
Very, very, very good advice. I definitely agree with you on all those points. There's another question coming in, and I'm guessing that, and the question is there something like at Callback Women for Black tech speakers? And I'm guessing Callback Women that might be like a site where women can maybe sign up for to be speakers, and then if you go out, and I don't know if you've heard of at Callback Women. Yes. So Karina Zona. Okay. So Karina Zona, she runs Callback Women, and I actually met her in Portland, and I have a Callback Women sticker that I got
that I'm very proud of. So now the thing is that we've all got similar focus and similar goals. So use callback women also, because most I'll just say geek feminists. Most people even if they don't identify themselves as a feminist, you know, they understand your plight. They understand your plight, and so they will aid you as well. As of right now, there is no just some Twitter account where you can tweet to the account, as far as I know, and then they'll try to help disseminate the information about your call for papers, because that's what Callback Women does. Is you've got an event, and then you say, hey, I've got this event, Callback Women, and Callback Women will follow you and retweet and help promote your CFP to other women who follow Callback Women. Thus, you end up getting more women into the pool, the speaker pool, and then you can choose from, you know, a more diverse speaker pool. But I've got some things that I'm cooking up in regards to trying to aid this, because we've run into a lot of difficulty in it, and so stay tuned. If anybody wants any more information, they can email me at help, HELP at FossetCon.org if you got any other questions or any more information on this specific question, and we can exchange some notes, and I can give you some things that I've got.
Nice. So, earlier you were talking about, you know, getting more ethnic speakers at FossetCon, and how it's became kind of hard for you to nail down some speakers to actually come and speak there. So, I mean, what advice? I mean, what should minorities do if they're looking to become? There's a couple of questions in this. What do you think the issue might be with getting more minority speakers to come out and speak at these tech conferences? Do you have an opinion on that, or?
Yeah. So I believe it's the same situation that's why, as I said, the geek feminism, and there's actually a geek feminism wiki. Just Google it. A lot of the issues that they face, we face, and you know, vice versa. So, you know, many times I'll be either the only black speaker, or I'll be one of maybe 3 black, you know, individuals at an event. And so, and there's generally ice that needs to be broken, but, you know, I'm so used to running that, you know, running into those icebergs and cracking through them, that I do it, you know, I do it, you know, without any effort. You know, it just happens. Whereas a lot of, I've actually been to an event with a real cool Latino guy, and this guy, he's a mechanic, and he was like in the GNU Linux, and you know, mechanics, they talk a lot, right? And he was standing at the wall, you know, I mean, really, you can hear some things in the auto body shop. So, you know, he's at the wall, and he's just like looking real meek, and so I pull up beside him. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And we're talking, and he's like, you know these people? And I said, no. He's like, well, you act like you know them all. I'm like, look, man, you just got to get out there and just expect people to, you know, not only accept you, but to collaborate and converse with you, you know? Yeah. So many times the environment as it is doesn't seem welcoming. And they're like, I've got horror stories from events that, you know, that I end up hearing things and seeing things that it's like, wow, like that definitely people who look like me definitely wouldn't want to hear those words. And so for women too, it's a thing of where when it's one woman in a room full of 60 guys, you know, that's not a good situation. In her head, it's like, wow, like, what can be happening? And then they start hearing words, and guys start saying, you know, lewd things. And so, you know, there is a thing of where if the event if the sector and the event doesn't seem welcoming, people aren't just going to start showing up and contributing, because it's like they think, well, not only do they not want me there, but they say that they don't want me there. They say things that would make me not want to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we, we've experienced that, and we've seen instances of that happen in the past, where things are being said at these tech conferences that are inappropriate. It makes women feel uneasy. It makes minorities feel uneasy. So I mean, what do tech conferences? What do these organizers have to do? What should they be doing, I should say, to make the perception of the tech conferences seem more welcoming? Just from a marketing standpoint, what types of things can tech conferences do? Well, so I don't have a crystal ball, and it's not saying that we do everything right. This is our first inaugural event, okay? But now, at the same time, when people see a face, right? When people see you, and when they look through the speakers, so it's a thing of where when they see people there, they say, okay, wow, that's at least I see some brown folks in there, right? So I'm more of a diversity guy across the board, Yeah. So to me, if representatives of a thing, right? If those representatives are of communities and they reach out to those communities, then you end up with a situation to where you have diversity, but there's also a thing of where you must have a board that is diverse. So right now we have no women on the board of FossetCon, right? It's not there. But luckily for me, I know a lot of women who are active feminists, okay? And I've learned quite a bit from them. So there's a thing of where you once again have to align yourself with people that will be able to bring individuals into the community. So at first we were having problems with getting women submitting talks, and so I talked to a mentor who was a female, and she said, "Okay, Bryan, well, you know what? At times alone, it's better to let women mentor women." And I said, "Okay, you know what? That's what I'm going to do." So what I did was there are some individuals who are really big in as far as diversity in our community, and I reached out to them. They aided us, and things started to change. So if you want to get more minorities, on speaker panel, then hey, guess what? You got to talk to a Latino, and then find a Latino that you can speak to that will take on that challenge, because it definitely is a challenge. Or find from whatever group that you're looking to touch bases with and bring into the event, and then try to them, and then if, because it's sort of like a vouching thing, okay, too, because once you get brought in, then it's just a thing of everybody's like, okay, we're used to these individuals, and we're used to them speaking the language that we like to hear in regards to them having a favorable event for us, versus them just spring we need to be there and not having a dialogue with us about what we actually want. It really does matter to have some sort of face-to-face component. Whether I've sent people my picture, or a bio, and the whole point was for them just to see the picture, and then like the walls come down. At times I won't get a response, and then I'll send a picture and say, hey, this is me, I'm just following up, boom, and then I get the response. Nice. So, I mean, what can minorities, people of color, and what can women do to help out and aid in this cause?
Okay, so that's a big thing. That's a really big thing. A lot of times, and too at FossetCon, we just don't want the seasoned veteran speaker. And a lot of events are about, nurturing speakers. And so when you see that call for papers or that call for proposals go out, seriously consider it. And even if you don't feel that, oh, well, I might not know enough or you know enough, you do. The thing is that it's like a report. You sit down and you gather information, and if you work at it, it will be good. It definitely will be good. So what everybody needs is we need people to submit talks, especially when it's in your city. Don't let it be. Don't let the event happen without you submitting a talk, especially if you're not T. I had a thing of where I wouldn't go to an event without speaking at it. Okay, so it's not saying that if I'm not speaking, I'm not stepping a foot in the door. It's a thing of where I must attempt to speak at that event, right? And if I'm going to go anyway, but if I don't, but if I'm going to go, I'm going to go as I want to go as a speaker. I definitely want to go as a speaker, and if I don't get it this time, I'll most likely get it next time, or maybe the time after that. But you have to get in the mode of being a content producer, right? Produce also. Just don't consume. Produce, because what happens is I have people come up to me and they'll say, "Wow, it was a surprise. Like, I didn't know that you would, and these are generally, I'll just say brown people, because it could be either Latinos or blacks or whatnot." And they'll say, I'm proud of you, or it made me feel good to see you. So with that thing, right, and more of us submitting talks, and also you're an attendee as well as a speaker. And so that puts you in a situation to where you can get with people and you can, network, and then you can create a situation to where the event gets a little more seasoning, and then more people get in and more people start doing talks. And, it just makes the whole event better. But please submit talks. We need to submit talks to these events and actively seek the change that you want to see.
I think that's very important, especially that last piece that you said, actively seek the change that you want to see. But what's more important is that, people need to remind themselves that they're experts in these fields, right? You're in this field for a reason, and all it takes is for you to go out and put together or submit a talk, and you don't necessarily have to be an expert at that specific thing. You do your research, you submit, you find out a subject or a topic that you want to speak about that you might find interesting. You put together a proposal for it, you submit it, and then, you start doing your research, and once you get to that point, you'll have a full-fledged talk, pretty much hashed out, that you can give, but it has to start somewhere. And I'm glad you gave that advice, because that was actually one of the questions from one of our Twitter followers is, do you have any advice for somebody looking to become a speaker? And I think you touched on that.
Can I add a quick note? Also, don't underestimate the beginner talk. The 101, this is how you sharpen a pencil, or how you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right?
Yeah.
At the biggest tech conference, there are going to be beginners. There are going to be people who are just getting, dipping their toe in. They're just dabbling, and they want to know. And those talks are generally jam-packed. They are jam-packed. So if you are aspiring to be a speaker, then look at the knowledge that you have, even if it's beginner knowledge. Look at and just document some of the problems you have and how you overcame those, and submit a talk. And hey, the talk will get accepted, and then you'll start to become more of a aficionado, because teaching people is how you learn. And so you real serious because, you know, you got to stand in front of everybody. And it's like, okay, you know, if I'm going to get up here and if people are going to, you know, they're like the attendees believe you. The fact that you're on that panel, that you're listed as a speaker, they're there to believe what you say, right? And, well, not totally, but they want to hear what you have to say. And so, you know, it's easy to get your facts straight and, you know, just put a little work into it, and then, you know, you'll make it. Once again, if you want any other tips, you can email me help, that's HELP, at FossetCon.org. That's FossetCon.org. I'm big on speaker development too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So, and I want that to kind of segue into this next question, because what can conference organizers do? Because, you know, if you were to go out there and look at a website for a tech conference, and you look at the call for papers, right, and you look at some of the subjects, you will automatically think that your talk has to be very, very complex and high level, and that, you know, and some people become intimidated from you know, by that. So what can tech conference organizers do to kind of help people not become intimidated and submit more talks? Is there anything that, you know, any type of wording? Is there, you know, hey, you know, beginner talks welcomed, or anything like that that conference organizers can do?
Yeah, so generally the CFP will be a static document, you know, like you put it up and not much dialogue not much of you know, you don't use it as a platform to reach out, right? In regards to when you initially put it out. But you can put some information in there. So in our CFP, wow, that brings up a good topic. So in our CFP, we told people, said, hey, our CFP will be extended if we don't, you know, reach certain milestones as far as speaker diversity and content. And so also we make sure we put community talks, right? Like that we're looking for community talks, because when people see community talk, then that generally sets a light bulb in your head. It's like, okay, well, this isn't necessarily something highly technical. It's a thing of where, so like I'll be at an event and I'll tell someone like, hey, we're looking for speakers. And they'll say, well, you know, I'm not really in the IT. And I'm like, so what is that exactly do you do? Oh, well, you know, I work with diversity in education. And I'm like, whoa, we need to hear about what you have to say as far as diversity, because, you know, working with diversity in education definitely, you know, translates into diversity in IT, you know, so So there are things that you can do in regards to putting wording in your CFP about, you know, you're looking for the speakers in general. And like I said, the community, saying that you're looking for community talks, that says a lot, because a community talk, you know, isn't a thing of where you've got to be standing up there talking about, you know, how you integrated the flux capacitor with the demodulator and came out with the flip clam, you know, like you don't have to, you know, it's not a really high technical talk, but it has like it's applicable to the whole community. Like it is literally a community talk, and they can translate outside of IT even. And so using Twitter, for instance, like so at one point, you know, we started looking through the submissions, and we were like, wow, this is a great talk, right? Like, and all of the talks are just so good. But it was, once again, like the whole, you know, flux capacitor talk. And I was like, we've got to do something in regards to getting some 101 content. And, you know, I love tech talks. I really do. But I do, you know, as an organizer, as someone who is actually programming an event for others, you have to consider beginner. You just have to. And so send out a tweet like, hey, we're looking for beginner, like 101 talks and talks on CMSs. And so a lot of times an on-ramp will be a CMS for people, right? It's like, okay, I get to run the content management system, this Droop or this WordPress, this Joomla or what have you, and then people play around and they start to get to messing around with databases and things, and they say, you know what, there's more out there. And so by using this whole social media aspect of the world that we have now, you know, as you make your assessment of your talks and your content as it comes in, then you can say, okay, right now we've got talks for the hardware track, the database track, whatever, but we don't have any beginner content in any of those tracks. Let's do something to try and encourage and influence this thing to happen, you know. And so lo and behold, we sent out the tweet, and some people retweeted it, other people retweeted it, and we start getting direct messages. Also, for me, I think it's important. No, this is just a personal thing. When most people, anybody who follows us, we follow them back, right? Because, you know, you should be able to have a dialogue with the event. You just should. And so we start getting people following, and then naturally we follow back. And guess what? They send messages. They were following just so we could send them, just so they could send us a message, right? Because if you're a beginner too, you know, you just don't want to throw the tweet out to how many people are on Twitter, you know, the billions, you know, everybody. You don't want it out just on the net. You want to be able to have, you know, an intimate conversation. And so follow them back, and then they sent the message like, hey, you know, this is the talk that I'm thinking about doing. You know, is that beginner enough? Is it too beginner? And we got quite a few of those, and you know, and we encourage them, submit it. We'll take a look at it. We love the idea. And so, you know, and that's another way that prospective speakers that you can mentor them and sort of groom them in regards to helping them work on their abstract and their title of their talk. Because if you can have a really great talk and a horrible title, and it'll just get looked over.
Gotcha. Well, Bryan, you know, we talked a lot about diversity at tech conferences tonight, and I definitely want to thank you for joining us on the Bit Tech Talk podcast. I also want to thank our Twitter followers who were tweeting us questions all throughout this podcast. You had some great questions, and I hope we got to all of them. Do you have any parting words before we get out of here?
Well, my parting words are that you should definitely consider going to FossetCon, which takes place September the 11th through the 13th. Yeah. It's food, fun, and free software. A lot of great companies, you know, aligning with us to deliver this content to the community as a whole. As I said, if anybody, you know, has any questions that didn't get answered, you can email me at help@FossetCon.org, and I will do my best to get back to you, especially if you are an aspiring speaker and you want some mentorship. And also, I'd really like to thank Blacks in Technology, and I'd like to thank you, Greg, for having this podcast and also moving Blacks in Technology forward, because, you know, I met you like right when this was starting, and I've watched this develop and bloom into a beautiful community, and I am ever grateful for it. And everyone should join. You should join Blacks in Technology. FossetCon is a member. Bryan Smith, I'm a member of Blacks in Technology, and even if it's not just for Blacks in Technology. You know, anybody can join Blacks in Technology.
Yeah. You know what? I want to touch on that just before we get out of here, and because it's important. I was talking with a good friend of mine, Watson, and we were talking about communities, and I can't remember the guy who actually created this document. He wrote a book, and it was mainly talking about creating communities. And he was basically stating that the strongest communities are the communities that allow you to create communities within those communities, right? Because not only are you allowing them to be a part of what you're doing, but you also allow them to even segment themselves a little bit, if they have some type of commonality between them, for them to also grow within your community. And I think that's important, especially when it comes to what we're talking about diversity and technology, and especially at these tech conferences, because a lot of people, they might have this sense of, why are you just targeting this group? Why are you targeting that group? And people don't understand that, targeting these groups and bringing them into your fold, or even allowing them to have their own segment within your community, helps the entire community grow as a whole. So I think that's very important. And, kind of into what you said about Blacks in Technology. Yeah, we focus on Blacks who are in technology, but we welcome everybody. Anybody can join. We welcome, the knowledge sharing, the mutual improvement that goes on. So I don't want anybody out there. I always say, like to say when it comes to Blacks in Technology, like, this is not a group to be exclusive. We're looking to be inclusive in the tech community around us. And so that's what our whole, our focus is, we're looking to be inclusive to the tech community. So I just want to say that before we jump out of here. And you gave did you give your website URL? What is that? Is that FossetCon?
.org. FossetCon.org. That's FossetCon.org. Yes, go there, check out
Twitter as well.
Yes, and at FossetCon, on Twitter. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Bryan, and hopefully we'll get you back on here at a later podcast. We'll talk about something other than diversity at tech conferences. You have a pretty extensive resume, so we definitely want to get you back on here.
Oh, yes, definitely. I've got some content for you, too, some controversial things, too.
Oh, boy. Okay. That's
everybody. So we've got to do it again, definitely.
All right. Thanks a lot, man. Take care.
All right. Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Blacks in Technology.
Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology. Blacks in Technology.